Welcome to our exploration of one of history's most brilliant scientific minds. In this documentary, we'll trace the extraordinary journey of Marie Curie from her humble beginnings in partitioned Poland to becoming the first person to win 2 Nobel Prizes. Her discoveries fundamentally changed our understanding of matter and radiation, while her personal story of perseverance against prejudice continues to inspire generations. Maria Sklodowska was born on November 7, 1867, in Warsaw, Poland, then under Russian imperial control. Her childhood unfolded in a politically charged atmosphere where Polish language and culture were suppressed. Both her parents were educators who instilled in their 5 children a deep respect for learning, despite their modest means. Tragedy struck early when Maria's mother died of tuberculosis when she was just 10, and her eldest sister died of typhus. These losses forged a resilient character in the young girl who would find solace in academic pursuits. She attended a clandestine floating university that defied Russian authorities by teaching Polish history and culture, developing both her intellect and patriotic spirit. Determined to pursue higher education unavailable to women in Poland, Maria made a pact with her sister Bronislava. She would work as a governess to fund Bronislava's medical studies in Paris. Then her sister would support her turn. For 5 years, she worked for the Zurowski family, fallen in love with their son Kazimierz, but his family rejected the match due to her inferior social status. During this period, she continued self-education through correspondence courses and conducted her first informal scientific experiments. The intellectual isolation of rural Poland only strengthened her resolve. In 1891, at age 24, with savings and her sister's support, she finally boarded a train to Paris, carrying little but her determination and notebooks. Arriving in Paris, Maria enrolled at the Sorbonne as Marie Sklodowska, one of few women among thousands of male students. She lived in a Spartan 6th-floor garret, often going hungry to afford tuition and books. The winter was so cold she slept wearing all her clothes. Despite these hardships, she thrived academically, graduating first in her physics class in 1893 and second in mathematics the following year. Her exceptional performance caught the attention of the Society for the Encouragement of National Industry, which commissioned her to study the magnetic properties of various steels. This research led her to the laboratory of physicist Pierre Curie in spring 1894, where their shared passion for science sparked both professional collaboration and personal connection. Marie and Pierre Curie married in July 1895 in a simple civil ceremony, sharing a bicycle honeymoon through the French countryside. They established a partnership that would redefine scientific collaboration. Pierre was already an accomplished physicist who had discovered piezoelectricity with his brother. Together they converted a damp, glass-walled shed into their laboratory, poorly equipped but filled with intellectual energy. Marie began doctoral research on uranium rays recently discovered by Henri Becquerel. She made a crucial conceptual leap. Instead of studying uranium compounds' known properties, she investigated the mysterious rays themselves. Her systematic approach would lead to one of science's greatest discoveries. Using Pierre's sensitive electrometer, Marie measured the conductivity of air exposed to uranium compounds. She discovered that pitchblende, a uranium ore, emitted 4 times more radiation than pure uranium itself. This could only mean the ore contained unknown elements more radioactive than uranium. In April 1898, she published her hypothesis, coining the term radioactivity. Pierre abandoned his own crystal symmetry research to join her hunt for these mysterious elements. They began the monumental task of processing tons of pitchblende residue obtained from Austrian mines. Working in their unventilated shed, they performed chemical separations on a scale never before attempted in radioactivity research. Through meticulous fractionation, the Curies isolated a new element in July 1898. Marie named it polonium after her homeland, publishing their findings with characteristic understatement. "We believe the substance we have extracted from pitchblende contains a metal never known before." Just 5 months later, they announced a second, even more radioactive element, radium. The scientific community remained skeptical since they hadn't isolated pure samples. To prove their discoveries, they needed to extract decigram quantities from tons of ore. For 4 years, they processed material in large iron cauldrons, stirring boiling radioactive sludge with iron rods longer than themselves, working in a shed open to weather. The physical toll was immense. Marie later wrote, "Sometimes I had to spend a whole day mixing a boiling mass with a heavy iron rod nearly as large as myself. I would be broken with fatigue. Yet at night, their laboratory glowed with ethereal light, the first visible evidence of radioactivity." In 1902, after processing approximately 8 tons of pitchblende, they finally isolated 1/10 of a gram of radium chloride. Marie determined radium's atomic weight as 225.93, modern value 226, definitively proving it was a new element. Their achievement captured public imagination worldwide, though neither understood the health consequences of their constant radiation exposure. In 1903, Marie defended her doctoral thesis, the first by a woman in France, titled "Research on Radioactive Substances." The examining committee declared it the greatest scientific contribution ever made in a doctoral dissertation. That same year, the Nobel Committee awarded the Physics Prize to Henri Becquerel and both Curies in recognition of the extraordinary services they have rendered by their joint researches on the radiation phenomena. Marie became the first female Nobel laureate. Initially, the committee had omitted her name. Pierre insisted on her inclusion. Ill health prevented them from attending the ceremony, but the award brought international fame and much-needed laboratory funding. Tragedy struck in April 1906, when Pierre, distracted by his thoughts, stepped into a Paris street and was crushed under a horse-drawn wagon's wheels. Marie was devastated but refused a widow's pension, determined to continue their work. The Sorbonne appointed her to Pierre's chair, making her France's first female professor. Her inaugural lecture on November 5, 1906, drew international attention as she resumed exactly where Pierre had left off. She established the Radium Institute with funding from philanthropist Andrew Carnegie and the French government. Here she mentored the next generation of researchers, including her daughter Irene, while continuing her own investigations into radioactive elements. In 1911, Marie won her second Nobel Prize, this time in chemistry, for the discovery of the elements radium and polonium, by the isolation of radium and the study of the nature and compounds of this remarkable element. She remains the only person to win Nobels in 2 different sciences. The achievement was overshadowed by scandal when newspapers revealed her affair with physicist Paul Langevin, a married former student of Pierre's. The French press vilified her as a foreign homewrecker, and an angry mob gathered outside her home. Despite this, she attended the Stockholm ceremony, stating firmly, "The prize has been awarded for the discovery of radium and polonium. I believe there is no connection between my scientific work and the facts of private life." When World War I erupted in 1914, Marie recognized that X-rays could locate bullets and shrapnel in wounded soldiers. She converted her Nobel Prize money into war bonds and developed mobile radiography units called Petites Curies, vehicles equipped with X-ray equipment and dynamos. She personally trained 150 women as radiological assistants and drove to the front lines, often operating equipment herself. By war's end, her units had examined over 1 million wounded. She also explored using radium's radioactive gas, radon, to sterilize infected tissue. This wartime service partially rehabilitated her public image in France, though she refused all medals for her contributions. After the war, Marie focused on building the Radium Institute into a world-leading radioactivity research center. She traveled twice to the United States in 1921 and 1929, successfully raising funds to purchase radium for research and treatment. President Warren Harding presented her with 1 gram of radium valued at $100,000, donated by American women. She insisted the radium belonged to her institute, not herself personally. During these trips, she met Thomas Edison, Herbert Hoover, and other luminaries, always emphasizing science's international character. She helped establish standards for radioactive measurements and co-founded the International Atomic Weights Committee. Throughout the 1920s, Marie's health deteriorated from prolonged radiation exposure. She suffered from cataracts that required multiple surgeries and chronic fatigue. Her fingers were scarred from handling radioactive materials. Yet she maintained a rigorous work schedule, publishing numerous papers and overseeing the Institute's growth. She witnessed her daughter Irene follow in her scientific footsteps, marrying Frederick Joliot in 1926. Marie carefully guided their research, which would eventually win them the 1935 Nobel Prize in Chemistry for discovering artificial radioactivity. She took particular joy in her second granddaughter, Elaine, born in 1927, often bringing the child to the laboratory. Marie's final major project was establishing the Radium Institute in Warsaw, opened in 1932 with her sister Bronislawa as director. During the inauguration, Poland's President Ignacy Mościcki presided, and Marie was greeted as a national hero. She maintained that science should serve humanity, advocating for medical applications of radioactivity while warning about potential dangers. Her last published work, Radioactivity, appeared in 1935 as a comprehensive 2-volume textbook. By then, nearly every hospital worldwide used radium or X-rays for diagnosis and treatment, and radioactivity had become essential in physics, chemistry, and biology research. In early 1934, Marie visited her beloved countryside retreat in Savoy, but returned to Paris seriously ill. She entered the Saint-Lemos sanatorium in the French Alps, diagnosed with aplastic anemia caused by decades of radioactive exposure. Her bone marrow had been destroyed by radioactive particles. On July 4, 1934, at age 66, she died with her daughter Eve by her side. Following her wishes, she was buried next to Pierre in Sceaux Cemetery in a simple ceremony. France honored her with a national funeral, but her coffin was lined with lead to contain radiation. Her death certificate listed the cause as pernicious anemia, avoiding mention of radiation. In 1995, 60 years after her death, Marie and Pierre's remains were transferred to the Panthéon in Paris, France's highest honor. She became the first woman interred there based on her own merits. President François Mitterrand declared, "She conquered 2 Nobel Prizes, opened the way to nuclear physics and cancer treatment, and became a symbol of women's emancipation." The ceremony acknowledged that radiation had caused her death, finally recognizing the price she paid for discovery. Today, her laboratory notebooks remain so radioactive they're stored in lead-lined boxes at France's National Library, requiring protective gear to handle. Marie Curie's scientific legacy is immense. She discovered 2 elements, coined radioactivity, developed techniques for isolating radioactive isotopes, and established the field of radiation therapy. Her work enabled Ernest Rutherford to develop the nuclear model of the atom, and later scientists to discover nuclear fission. The Curie unit of radioactivity bears her name. More personally, she mentored 4 future Nobel laureates, including her daughter and son-in-law. Despite facing prejudice as a woman, foreigner, and scandal target, she persevered with what Einstein called her strength, her purity of will, her austerity toward herself. The Curie family's Nobel achievements are unprecedented. Marie, Physics 1903, Chemistry 1911. Pierre, Physics 1903, daughter Irene Joliot-Curie, Chemistry 1935, and son-in-law Frédéric Joliot, Chemistry 1935. This Nobel dynasty reflects Marie's commitment to scientific education and mentorship. Her institutes in Paris and Warsaw continue as major research centers. Element 96 curium, discovered in 1944, was named in her and Pierre's honor. Numerous universities, hospitals, and awards bear her name worldwide. She appears on Polish currency, French stamps, and in countless educational programs inspiring future scientists. Marie Curie's life embodies the paradox of scientific progress. Her discoveries saved countless lives through radiation therapy while contributing to nuclear weapons development. She represents both the boundless potential of human curiosity and its unintended consequences. Her personal sacrifices, working in dangerous conditions, enduring public scorn, ultimately dying from her research, highlight the moral dimensions of scientific pursuit. As we continue to grapple with nuclear technology's benefits and risks, her story reminds us that knowledge carries responsibility. She once wrote, "Nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood." Today, Marie Curie remains a global icon of scientific perseverance and gender equality. Her notebooks and laboratory equipment are preserved as historical treasures, though still radioactive. The Marie Curie Cancer Care Charity, founded in 1948, continues her humanitarian mission. In 2002, the BBC named her the most influential woman in history based on her lasting impact. As we face new scientific frontiers, from gene editing to artificial intelligence, her example of rigorous methodology, international collaboration, and ethical consideration remains vital. She proved that with enough determination, even the most humble beginnings can illuminate humanity's greatest mysteries. Marie Curie's legacy extends far beyond her scientific achievements. She proved that intellectual brilliance knows no gender, opened doors for women in science, and demonstrated that curiosity coupled with relentless work can reveal nature's deepest secrets. Her radioactive materials continue to save lives through medical treatments today, while her notebooks remain too dangerous to handle without protection. A lasting testament to the power she unleashed and the price she paid for knowledge.